streaming. Come on, Crank. Come on, Crank.
My mom said the stream dumped out yesterday. She said she was watching, and she claimed it dumped out. Did something happen?
Facebook's been a hater lately. I have to figure out how to stream to. Well, I can't say that out loud, but I have to figure out a way how to get Facebook to be more consistent. Because it has been dumping out, and it's really frustrating. Because it'll be fine, and then it'll dump out, and then I can't restart.
Your stomach making noise now?
Me and Andrew are going to talk about this in the nootropic, which was a great idea, by the way, man. This tastes great.
Yeah. But anywho, yeah, I'll get Facebook figured out so that way Mama Bell can watch it.
Our shot clock is at 0. Can we push some buttons?
I'll get that going too.
Andrew's having a tough time with all these different buttons he's got to push.
The nootropic hasn't kicked in yet.
Have we started yet?
Yeah, we started.
All right. So
we're going.
We just got some coffees over here. And how many of you out there listening? Something has to be done. Because Starbucks is fucking with us. Starbucks is giving us the old McDonald's story when you were a kid and you wanted to use the ice cream machine, and they're like, "Oh, our ice cream machine's broken." Is it really broken? Like, or are my dreams just broken right now? Because you're killing me. I need a freaking vanilla shake, you know. And I think you're starting to see Starbucks do that with the cold brew. I'm like, dude, get me a cold brew, and they keep giving me iced coffee.
You talking about the nitro, or
yeah,
talking
the
about
nitro?
Yeah, that nitro machine though. I mean, if you've seen it, it looks like the things that they have behind bars.
Yeah,
right. So it's a complex machine.
Only one person in the whole building knows how to run it. It's one of those things. It's like, Eric's not here today, so it's out of order. And you're like, fuck that, man. I want everyone to know how to run that thing. I want my nitro cold brew.
But he's the only one that's certified to be able to use it, and you're allowed one certification per location.
So because we didn't get our nitro, because we didn't get our coffee the way that we wanted, we needed to amp this thing up, and we threw some nootropics in it from our boys over at Perfect Keto.
Yeah, not your everyday nootropic like everyone's thinking.
Not your everyday
not
nootropic.
Your everyday.
Damn right. This stuff has ketones in it. It's got all kinds of cool stuff in it. Andrew likes nootropics. What are you recognizing from it so far?
I definitely like one thing, and this is why I like to experiment with a lot of things. It all started because of that damn movie Limitless.
Oh.
So I've been chasing the Limitless pill for I don't know how many years now. But one of the things is just the productivity. Like I take this nootropic, and then I look down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been working my ass off for 4 hours straight. Just totally zoned in. Exactly. You get in that flow state way quicker than you normally would if you were to take, I don't know, if you weren't to take anything. Like if you were to take straight coffee, you can get some productivity done. But with this, it just helps the focus. It helps your mental clarity. And on top of all that, when you mix it with coffee, it tastes incredible.
And a nootropic is kind of just like food for your brain. In a way, right?
Sort of, yeah. So what it does
kind of
is
just heighten the activity of the brain, right?
Yeah. So what a lot of them do is like the stuff that's already in your brain that does a lot of the
firing.
Yeah. There you go. The neurons and all that stuff that fires off, like acetylcholine or choline, I should say. So when you take alpha GPC, it's a precursor to what's already there. So when it passes the blood-brain barrier, it just kind of floods your brain with all this choline, and you're like, you're on fire. And so that's what it does. And then with this having fat inside the supplement, it actually it helps your body. It like binds to something. Whereas if you just take a supplement without fat, you just kind of pee it out of your body, and you don't actually get to absorb what the supplement is trying to give you.
I love it, man. And in a cup of coffee, it tastes damn good too.
Yeah.
It tastes really good.
I love a lot of the products from Perfect Keto. You guys know they are sponsors of this podcast. We really appreciate them. They help us out a lot. They give us a lot of great products. They got collagen protein that tastes fantastic. They got whey protein that tastes good. They have a lot of great products. And one thing that they stick to that I really like is they're not dumping in a bunch of crap in their products. They're not putting in a bunch of artificial sweeteners and things like that. I think you guys will really dig Perfect Keto. We're hooked on those bars. You're hooked on that cinnamon roll, but the cookie dough you said made a pretty strong comeback
recently. It is making a comeback. Like I think they're kind of neck and neck now. Because initially I didn't know what the hell you guys were talking about. But you are right. When you have a cinnamon roll and then you have a cookie dough right after, you're like, I see. It's like things open up.
So. Yeah. You guys really got to give all these Perfect Keto products a try. Head over to perfectketo.com/powerproject at checkout. Enter promo code PowerProject. That'll get you 15% off everything we just talked about and everything else they have on the site.
Oh my God! What's your favorite thing if you had to narrow it down from Piedmontese?
I've said this all. I'm like a broken record. I'm sorry, guys, but the ribeyes. I love ribeyes.
You do anything to your ribeye? I know you're an air fryer guy. You put any butter or salt on it or anything? Why is he laughing so hard?
I'm so simple. Like, I'm such a fucking simpleton. I put salt on it. I let it sit, and I put it in the air fryer. It comes out. Sometimes I don't even use butter, but if like I want to treat myself, I put some butter on it. Like I used to use rubs and stuff.
It's unbelievable.
From Costco.
Just without anything.
But like, just salt on steak is just so good. You know, I don't need to use rubs or anything. I probably should to like bring some spice into my damn life, but right now I'm doing okay.
No, you don't need to. With Piedmontese steaks, they're incredible just with salt. I do try to take it up a notch by using the smoker, so I'll slow cook them in the smoker.
You're a man, that's why. I'm still a boy.
And this is how like serious I take it.
Nsima's trying to microwave his shit over here.
Yeah. And then Nsima, I'm going to ask you this one: do you let the meat rest after it's done?
That's hard.
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I do.
All right, I'm proud of you.
Last night I didn't. Honestly, last night I didn't. I was really hungry.
Yeah.
I was really hungry, and I was just like, after 30 seconds, I was like, F it. So,
yeah.
But usually, letting it rest is really good.
You're supposed to let it rest for about the amount of time that it takes to cook it. Something like that, right?
I'll do half because
I do about half.
Yeah.
It's such an adult thing.
Yeah, and we were just talking about how like kids, like you tell them like, oh, just wait 3 minutes. That's like 3 years. That's what it feels like when you're letting a steak rest.
Yeah,
it feels like, oh my gosh.
You're right.
One time, seriously, I looked at the clock and I'm like, okay, it's like 8, 7 o'clock. I'm like, okay, so I probably took them out. Okay, cool. So I'll wait, 15 minutes. And I looked up at the clock and it said 6:59. I swear, I don't know. I obviously look at 2 different clocks, but I looked at my phone and then I looked at the the countertop whatever clock, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I really are going backwards in time, waiting for this thing to rest.
Whew. How can people get in on this?
You guys can head over to Piedmontese.com. That's PIEDMONTESE.com. At checkout, enter promo code Power Project. That's going to get you an entire 25% off your whole order. Plus, if you spend $99 or more, you're going to get free 2-day shipping. So, like I said in the past, if you can order it today, you'll be grilling by the weekend.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good. And then we got our boys over at Quest Nutrition. Appreciate their support as well. They recently sponsored this podcast, and I've been a fan of Quest Nutrition since day one. Been eating the bars forever. I think it's a great thing in your diet, in your pursuit for a better body and for a stronger body and for the body that you want. It's great to have things to look forward to. I have many times with many different styles of diet. A Quest bar has fit into all styles of diets for me, whether it's keto or whether it's a bodybuilding style diet. Doesn't matter what I was trying. There was always room for a Quest bar, and there's probably room for a Quest bar in your life as well.
Always. There's always room for bars. But just be careful, people. The cool thing about the Quest bars that I really like is, I've mentioned this all the time, but that fiber makes it really difficult to like eat a lot of it.
Yeah.
So like you can actually feel good with 1 or 2, but just be careful. Be careful. They're really good.
Quest bars, Quest cookies. They got their protein powder, which is great for cooking with.
Got their taco chips.
Yeah, they got their
you don't have to point at me. That's racist.
What?
That was racist.
That was so bad.
And take number 2.
And let's start over.
Can we just like delete that part?
We're live,
okay,
bro.
We're live.
We can't.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
We're going.
But how good is it when somebody is like they're trying to change, they're trying to get onto a diet plan, and how cool is it to be like, here, take this cookie, and you have at it. It feels good to be able to recommend stuff to like people that we know and love. That's why we're recommending this to everybody that's listening right now. If you guys want to take advantage of this, head over to questnutrition.com. Check out, enter promo code MarksQuest for 20% off all these cookies, all the chips, proteins, everything they have at questnutrition.com.
Hell yeah.
By the way, just like Quest is such like a good name. Like when you hear Mark's Quest, you picture you just like in a forest, like looking for something, right?
I'm on that quest.
On a quest.
On a quest.
Trying to find something better. Right?
Betterist.
What's on your mind today, Nsima?
Scary stuff, Mark.
Oh, shit.
Scary stuff.
It is October.
It is October. Ooh. Well, we'll talk about Halloween later. But, okay. So, anyone who pays attention to jiu-jitsu, this past weekend was ADCC. And ADCC is probably the biggest no-gi grappling jiu-jitsu tournament in the world. It happens every 2 years. Like the Olympics happens every 4 years, ADCC is every 2 years. So it's not even an every year type of deal. If you want to be the best at no-gi, if you want to prove you're the best, you go to ADCC, you compete, and you win. So watching ADCC, shit got me excited, but shit also got me really scared because a lot of guys, knees and feet, like, and women too, like, shit was popping. And when I was watching, I was like, wow, like, these are some really good grapplers. But when I roll with people, right, I know at the top levels of competition, you're trying to win. But, like, you can put on, like, a leg lock or a knee bar or something without breaking your, without breaking your opponent's knee. Like, when it's in, okay? But a lot of these guys, when they put it on to break immediately. And I get it. It's to win. But at the same time, it's just like damn, like, do we have to, like, end this person's career or put them in the hospital? Can we do things to let them tap? And I get it. It kind of sounds stupid, and I get why it's done. It's just like, it's so horrible to watch. And then, like, there's a picture of Apollo Meow. And Andrew has this picture. I showed it to him. He rolled with this 16-year-old phenom named Ty Rotolo. Ty's the one with Meow's foot, and Meow, if you're watching the video, you'll probably have to look for a bit because you really can't comprehend what's happening. But look at Meow's knee. Look at his knee and look at his facial expression.
So it's really, like, it's hard to follow, but this person right here, this is his leg going the wrong way.
Yes.
It took me a while to figure out what the hell I was looking at, but yeah, dude, that's...
And y'all want to guess who won this match?
The ref?
The guy with the broken leg.
The guy with the broken leg. Meow. Meow walked off and he won this match. And the crazy thing is, though, it's like everyone talks about Meow and his knees because he's done this in different matches before where they'll pull an ankle lock or something and his knee will turn in the wrong way. But I feel like it's not just genetic form. He's done so much to his knee that there's like a lack of ligaments,
manipulation through the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. You know, like, I want to do jiu-jitsu for a long time, for the rest of my life. I don't want to be 50 years old hobbling around, but I also want to get to a really, really high level. Like, I want to compete in the gi at a high level. And a lot of guys have come out fairly unscathed, like world champion Roger Gracie. You know who he is. He's considered the best gi jiu-jitsu grappler of all time. And he's good. He's walking around. Nothing's wrong with him. But this got me.
That's kind of the topic for today, huh?
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out, can you go all in? Can you compete at a high level and still be okay? Like, there's some NFL dudes that are walking around that are still doing pretty good. There's
Tom Brady seems good.
Yeah. Well, he's still playing. He's 42 or something. And then when we had Dan Severn here, I think Dan Severn was like 60.
Yeah.
And he looked good. I mean, he looked like he was still in shape. I asked him if he could still fight, and he said no, because he doesn't have the conditioning. But he goes, I could still grapple, and I still got great conditioning, and I still love to work out, and I still love this, I still love that. Very active. He has a job where he's driving around a lot, and like he's very like cognitive. And this is a guy who, you know, he fought in the UFC. He didn't take a lot of damage though. He, you know, at least didn't appear that way. We got other friends. We got people like Jake Cutler that we see. Jake Cutler looks great. To me, he looks better than he's ever looked before. He looks awesome. He's in great shape. He has a build that at least is a little bit more obtainable for other people.
Yeah.
And so it's like more aesthetically pleasing to your average person. He's not 310 pounds jacked anymore, right? But then there's the flip side of things. There's, you know, some other people that are suffering, that have had great careers, that have done great things. And it's like, it sucks to see, you know, Ronnie Coleman. You know, Ronnie Coleman can barely get around. It seemed like in some of the documentary that I saw of him, it seemed like it takes him like 20 minutes just to go from like a preacher curl machine to like a shoulder press or something like that. And it doesn't look like he's sitting around feeling sorry for himself. He's still in the gym training, and so he's still having a good time. But you know, my understanding is he's had multiple surgeries on his back, and his back popped during like a leg press, and it just sucks. And there's a lot of examples of that. And there's guys like Ed Cohn who's had to have multiple hip surgeries, but Ed also seems like he's doing well also, right? And then we just know people that haven't really done anything all that great when it comes to athletics that are banged up too. You know, my dad's an example. My dad was born with like, you know, shitty knees. He's got like bow-legged, right? And then he's had to have hip surgeries, and then some of it was self-induced. Like some of it is from from poor dietary habits and poor general habits that have led to, you know, him having like diabetes and heart disease and some of these other things. But it's like, it's almost like he went through a damn war too. It's like he may as well have played 20 years in the NFL, right? So that's kind of the question here is like, you know, I guess like, is it worth it to have that thing that you wanted to pursue under your belt if it leaves you jacked up later on in life? If it takes years off your life, that's also an interesting question. We'll never really know whether it takes years off your life or not, but to kind of limp your way around the rest of your life because you achieved that level that you wanted to in jiu-jitsu, I don't know.
And that's putting it like that almost, I don't know, it's making it sound nicer because there's people that are doing crazy shit for an awesome Instagram post, you know? So it's like, holy shit. But when you guys are talking about like being like a world-class athlete, I think more people are willing to say like, oh yeah, that's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we talked about this. I don't think we mentioned this on the podcast, but I heard about this before. And then Cassio, my jiu-jitsu instructor, mentioned it the other day because I talked to him about this. I'm like, how are these guys going this far? And then Cassio was saying how there was a survey done with Olympians. I forgot the year. I don't know the year. You guys can look this up though. And pretty much the survey said, and they asked multiple Olympians, I think a few hundred or something. Okay. So today you will win the Olympics, you will get a gold medal in your sport, but there's a 30% chance that you'll die tomorrow. I'll give you this pill and you'll absolutely win today, but there's a 30% chance you'll die tomorrow. Are you going to take the pill? More than 80% said they'd take the pill. And I can tell you right now, I wouldn't fucking take the pill. I wouldn't. You know, and so that's the thing. Like, do you need to have that mentality? I personally don't think you have to. And the reason why is because like, when I do deal with things myself, and also like the athletes I work with, I do everything possible to make sure we're doing everything in a way that we can't get injured, but we can still make progress. And I look at that for myself too when I do jujitsu. I think jujitsu is so tough too because a lot of people, if you have the mentality that you never want to lose, right? When you tap in jujitsu, you are telling your opponent, I surrender. A big reason why a lot of people do get injured is because they don't tap in time.
Because they don't want to surrender.
They don't want to surrender. This is one of those things where you don't surrender, something can break. But if you're so hard-headed that you choose not to surrender, boom, injury. Or even like your opponent might break your arm, or your partner might pull a little bit harder on your knee bar because you're not tapping to it, and they may break your foot or pop your knee, right? A former client of mine, Kevin Zaki, he was telling me about, he's a white belt in jiu-jitsu. He's great. He's doing awesome. I'm really happy for him. He just had a tournament this weekend. I think he got 2nd place. He's jacked. He's over in the East Coast. But he was telling me how one of his training partners put him in a knee bar. And as a white belt, you don't necessarily, this is a tough thing that instructors need to show their students. Like you need to show your students where to turn or how to escape. But an upper belt did this to Kevin, who's a white belt. And as an upper belt, you should understand that white belts don't know what to do. Don't know how to escape. But apparently he really just put it on Kevin because Kevin's a big guy and Kevin got a little bit of an injury. So like, you know, with these things, it's just like there's partner involvement, you know, you have to have smart partners, but you also got to be smart yourself to know when to bail out. But guys like this, like I think Andrew has another video up of Roger Gracie, who's the best jiu-jitsu competitor of all time. And he was going against Jacare, who's famous in and of himself. And this was a match between the two, and Roger, I think, had Jacare in an armbar, and Roger does simple things to win, but Jacare didn't tap. Jacare's arm broke, and at the end of the day, Jacare won that match because he let his arm break. So it's just like,
yeah, when is it kind of when is it kind of overkill? When is it perhaps too much? You know, one thing that you just kind of that I thought of while you were talking about this, you know, tap, you know, and surrender, you know, give in, like admit that you're up against it, you know, like it's over. The ride is over. Like this game that we're playing, like I won and you have to surrender to me. What about when that happens just in life? Like a lot of times people don't tap either. You go to the doctor's like, sir, your blood pressure is through the roof. You have a clogged artery. Like you're in a lot of trouble right now. And a lot of people don't tap. a lot of people are like, they go home and not only do they not tap, they don't tell anybody else. They don't tell their wife. They don't tell anybody because people are prideful and they can sometimes be a little weird when it comes to like medical stuff. And they just go about their normal life and they wake up at 5 a.m. and they go to work and they don't think about it. So there's a lot of people that aren't tapping in their day-to-day when they probably should, because when you tap, you get to continue to play the game. It's like this game is over.
Yeah.
This is over for now, but you tap, you learn from it. I'm going to do better next time. I'm not going to end up in that same position.
Exactly. Like, I feel like, yeah, if you were watching this,
that was crazy.
his arm broke.
That was wild.
His arm broke and he didn't tap, and then he won by points there, And exactly what you're saying. And like, I know, like, I don't know if this makes me a wimp or something, but in that situation, I would have tapped. And then I would try and go back and practice the hell out of something so I could try and win another day. But, that mentality, it's like, I feel like some people have that and some people don't. And I feel like you should have the mentality to sometimes know when to stop, because I think about tomorrow. I think about weeks, months from now, because I can get another shot at this, right? If I can continue to train and get better, with lifting, not going all out all the time. A lot of powerlifters, we get hurt because we go out all the time in training and something happens. But if you can just have a little bit of a longevity aspect to your training, I mean, I feel like some of the most successful athletes are some of the athletes that last the longest.
Well, and when it comes to the gym, how many times like has somebody like gone up in weight when they shouldn't have? Have they gotten hurt? Had they essentially tapped to going up in weight, maybe they could hit that next week.
Yeah.
Or maybe even the next day. Yeah. But no, like the ego and then not wanting to submit to the weights. Yeah. So you can really have that mindset in many, many other aspects of life.
And maybe somebody like a Jerry Rice or something, like, I don't know his stance on this particular thing, but like maybe somebody like Jerry Rice just outworked everything so much that he would just never be in a position to where he had to tap. I'm sure maybe earlier in his career, maybe he did have to like reconsider some stuff, but he just said at some point, he was like, you know what? I'm never gonna be that way. And people used to try to do his like warm-ups that he would do, and they'd throw up. I mean, these are really, really high level NFL players, and they try to hang with him. They try to go run hills with him, and he would just smoke everybody. So maybe someone like that made a decision like, I want to be able to have the ability to go so full blast and so full bore that it doesn't compromise the rest of my life. He seems to be pretty healthy. He played for 20 years. I mean, he's the greatest football player that ever lived, pretty much. I mean, no one scored more touchdowns. I mean, I don't think anybody will ever catch up to the stuff that guy's done. He was a beast. He was an animal, and he's taken a lot of shots, and he's a thin guy. He's not a big guy.
Yeah.
But he conditioned himself so well and had the mental side down. But also, too, he wasn't functional as a person. Like, his teammates are like, yeah, I don't know anything about Jerry Rice.
What do you mean?
Well, he just, because he was so, like, maybe introverted, which is, most people that are really successful are introverted. Every once in a while, they're like an alpha male type of thing, but most of the time, they're very introverted. They're very like Elon Musk would be considered to be like weird. Like, man, that guy's weird. He's like, he's sitting over there and he's like smelling the wires that go into the machine or something, because he's just different, right? Like, I don't even know if that's what he does, but I'm just saying, like, people are strange, right? Because these strange little quirks, that make them special and make them different. And sometimes, in some cases, in the case of the really high level athletes, sometimes the main driver of what they have is just to be totally fucking crazy and to be like totally reckless. But in Jerry Rice's case, a lot of the people that were, trying to be close to him, a lot of people that were, trying to do right by him, trying to be like his teammate, he like wasn't having it because he just couldn't have normal relationships. So he was so far on that one. Is that worth it? So he did play 20 years. He is the greatest player, or one of the greatest players of all time. But then it's like, where does he, or Barry Bonds. Like, Barry Bonds played the game and he was amazing. I love Barry Bonds. I'm a huge fan, but like, Barry Bonds was a dick.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a huge burden to be one of these people. I can't even imagine, but there's some people that have navigated it without being a dick, without being an asshole, you know? So it brings up a lot of interesting things. Like, would it even feel good to be him? Or does it feel horrible to be him because he's never satisfied?
Yeah.
Dude, Jerry Rice in today's NFL would have been even scarier.
Really? Why do you say that?
Because the game is so like tailored towards scoring and being more exciting. So like back in these days, like you could actually touch the wide receiver, and today you can't even look his direction before you get a pass interference call. But I remember,
it was rougher.
Yeah, Jerry Rice. There was a commercial. He's like, people tell me that I'm the best player or something like that, and he's like, I wouldn't say that. I would just say I worked the hardest. I remember that was the first time where I was like, oh, if I want to be good at something, I got to work really hard.
I agree with that. I mean, also look at Kobe. Like, I think Kobe tore his Achilles at some point in his career, came back, right? And Kobe's also known to have worked extremely hard. Yeah. Right? Just like practice
before
more.
everyone there, after everybody left and everything.
And he's coming out of his career, with a torn Achilles, but Kobe Bryant's pretty damn healthy. I understand that basketball's a very different sport than jiu-jitsu. It's a very different sport than lifting and football. But, even when I look at powerlifting, and I even made a video about like 5 reasons why you should start jiu-jitsu. And I in that video, I put that like, it's a relatively like safe martial art. It's not full contact. But I feel like you said something, I think you said something about like parameters or something. Like it really depends on, I guess, how smart you are about it or how you go about it. Like you could go at jiu-jitsu and get hurt on your first day if you don't tap. You could get yourself hurt in powerlifting if you're maxing out every single week. But it really just depends on, I guess, strategizing and navigating those waters so you have the end goal of, I want to be super freaking strong, or I want to be really, really, really good at jiu-jitsu. But how can I get here while minimizing damage to myself or really not barely getting hurt? I mean, a great example of this look at Mike O'Hearn. Yeah. Sorry, but like you always mention how he like likes to, or he doesn't mind lowering the weight to something really, really light. And he's 50 years old right now. Most people that were, doing this back when he was doing it don't look the same way he does, and they're not as healthy as he is. It's because that he was looking at the long run.
A lot of self-control, and I think that we look at self-control and we look at discipline and we think about all the stuff that people do, but it's all the shit that they don't do that's super admirable too. Mike O'Hearn is an absolute animal in the gym. I mean, he is a wrecking machine, right? But he doesn't train recklessly, and he trains very smooth all the time. What's crazy and kind of frustrating is the fact that he's able to move such big weights all the time with flawless form and technique, and it's just hard to make sense of. And then sometimes you just have to take a step back and just say, look, you know what? I don't know all the reasons why. Sometimes people are just stronger than other people. Like it's just the way it is. Kaylor Woolman can rip up 900 pounds. He works really hard. He works really hard, but does he have a certain talent towards that? Of course he does. I mean, it's a combination of things. We can all kind of make sense of it. But like, what's reasonable for you to do? You're in great shape, but for you to sit here and be 4% body fat, it's like, how long would be 4% body fat? For like a couple days?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Less than a week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you're 4% body fat for a week. You do a bodybuilding show, take a couple pictures. I'm 4% body fat, right? And you get out of it because it's not reasonable. And if I said, hey, man, like, I want you to be 4% body fat for like a year, you would be like, that's not, no. Like, that doesn't fit. This doesn't fit with like what I'm doing. Like, if you were 21, maybe you'd be like, yeah, fuck it. I'll try it. Yeah. Like, let's see what I can do. But it doesn't fit. It doesn't vibe with like what you're doing right now. So it doesn't make any sense. And that's what people need to try to determine is what's reasonable for them. And if you're trying to acquire like that next level, a lot of times the things that you're going to do are not reasonable. They're going to be a little wacky. They're going to maybe it's still kind of safe to you because maybe you're conditioned to it. But like the stuff I was doing, handling 900 pounds in a bench press and handling 1,100 pounds in a squat, there's just nothing safe about it. It's almost like I'm going to crash my car, but it's totally fine because I have airbags. It's like it's almost that bad. It's not that bad, but it's almost that bad.
Yeah. But you mentioned something also. You look at a lot of athletes, right? And there are some like even top wrestlers that are in their 30s. There's this, I wish I knew his name. a lot of wrestlers know who I'm talking about. He's this like, 5'7" black guy. He's an Olympian wrestler. He's really freaking good. He's done some amazing stuff. I don't remember his name. But you can also look at a lot of like really young wrestlers that have a crazy amount of injuries that haven't done half or even anything close to what he's done, right? But I feel like you were saying that individuals need to do, sometimes you got to do unreasonable things. I really do think that to get at that level or to get to that place, like Hodger Gracie, you can do unreasonable things to an extent. Like you can ride that line.
You can still be prepared for it.
You can be prepared for it, and you can know when maybe it might be the best time to back off a little bit. I know sometimes things are inevitable. Sometimes injuries happen, and maybe there was no way you could have avoided it. You know what I mean? But like you look at a lot of these, like Hodger or whatever, right? I feel like there were so many situations where maybe he could have gotten hurt, or something could have happened. But maybe he just trained really smart, and even the way he puts things forward and the way he rolls, the way he like talks about his training. It seems like it was just very well structured. It seems like he's just a guy that didn't always go all in, So I wonder about that, because a lot of times when you hear about like champions, right, you always hear about this all in mentality. Like you need to be committed. You need to be all in. But to what extent do you need to be all in? Sometimes it's seen as like, it's seen as great or whatever when someone's injured and they're still going at it, right? They're still training hard. But like when I had my meniscus torn, and not saying like this is anything crazy, but I came in the next day and I started training, but I wasn't doing anything with my legs. I knew, okay,
just that mindset.
Exactly. I just came in and trained some with my upper body, but I knew, okay, this thing needs to heal. So I need to be within the parameters here, not do anything to re-injure it. So it's just tough. I feel like we just need to find that line. If you really want to be great at a sport, and I guess this is coming from a guy who hasn't like necessarily done anything super great, or I'm not saying I'm a champion or something, but I think that it can be done safely to like, hopefully nothing happens. But if you just ride that line, if you know when to back off, and you actually just back off a little bit, think about your athletic longevity. If you may want to get to this goal, but I don't know, man.
Things shouldn't be things might get a little bit iffy here and there, but they shouldn't. Like if you feel like you're really rolling the dice on like a bench press and you're just totally unsure of it, and even your training partner's like, hey, like, I don't know, man, like, doesn't seem like a good idea, and you just happen to go for it, there's a 50-50 shot of like something happening. You think about like The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin or some of these people, right? There's been a bunch of people that have been in and out of pro wrestling, quicker than you can blink your eye, because they got hit with a chair like the wrong way, or something had happened on a certain type of move, and something slipped or something happened. It even happened to Stone Cold where he broke his neck wrestling Owen Hart. And it's like there's these things that can happen, but usually if you're good and you can execute at a really high level, then you're usually fine. Like Barry Sanders comes to mind. Like he was so good and so shifty, and so he missed like one game because he had like an injured rib or something. He was an NFL running back for 10 years, and he's one of the all-time greats. And so if you're prepped enough, you should be able to do stuff that other people think is unreasonable, that other people think is crazy, but you can still do it, and you can do it kind of safely. Like another example would be like if we were to try to like get into a really powerful car and do some like car racing. Like we don't know what do we know about racing cars? I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And how dangerous is that going to be for me? It's going to be really dangerous for both of us. Like we don't know anything about it. But somebody else could get in that car that has experience, and they can quote unquote safely probably go 150, 200 miles an hour.
Exactly. Like exactly preparedness. A lot of these pro athletes, they've been doing it for so long, or been working so hard, that things that seem risky to us are just another day for them. Just like when you like watching ADCC, there are a lot of like individuals that they're put into a heel hook, or they're put into these submissions, but they escape smoothly. But because they've drilled that, like it looks dangerous to someone who doesn't know how to escape it. But to somebody who does, boom, they get out. You're like, how the fuck did you do that? Right? But then there are other times when they're in it and they just let the knee go.
you mentioned Kobe Bryant, and Kobe did have the Achilles tear, and that was pretty much the beginning of the end. He did come back from it, and he did the best he could, but he'll even admit, and he's even said in interviews, he asked himself, like, can I even come back from this? And it wasn't so much of like, do I have what's needed to do it? It was more like, is this worth it? Like what? I already won a bunch of times. Like, and I tore my Achilles. It takes a year to come back from an Achilles tendon tear. It doesn't matter how resilient you are or how much of a badass you are. That's like minimum requirement is 12 months, if not longer. So he did rehab. He tried to get shots for it and what are those, stem cells. He tried to do all kinds of stuff, and nothing really produced any real results for it. He did end up getting back on the court, but the simple fact that he had to ask himself if it was worth it tells you that Kobe Bryant was in a spot that he's never been in before in his life, because he'd never probably asked himself that question before.
Yeah, he even questioned the contract that they wanted to give him. So when he came back, it was like for 2 years, but it was like it was going to tie up all of their free agent money. He's just like, why are you gonna give me, like, okay, fine, like I'll take it, but like, I don't know.
Am I worth this right now with what just happened?
That's exactly what his mind, like what he kind of said, and it was just like, wow, like Kobe, like, like, you okay?
Yeah, and is it worth it to like run in like an absolute maniac for every rebound all the time? Like, probably not, because you're probably going to jump and land on somebody else's foot. Because if you're just recklessly like going all in like a nutcase, shit's gonna happen. I mean, you're not gonna last very long.
Yeah,
and just dive for every ball and be a fucking freak, right?
Unless
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, unless that is your like only thing.
If that's the only thing that you can rely on, then you'll be, the sixth player on a really good team, and you'll contribute, and you'll do really well, and you probably make some money. Yeah. But you'll be in the league for like 6 years if you're lucky.
Yeah, or you'll be Michael the Animal Smith on the Sacramento Kings. That guy was terrible, but man, he would get every rebound.
Which player in the NBA does everybody tout like has amazing longevity, and they don't know how they're doing it? Who is it?
Well, I will say Tim Duncan did it.
Okay, yeah, Tim Duncan did it, and he was a multiple-time champion. He was one of the greatest players of all time. But who in the NBA has had just crazy longevity? He's pretty old. I'm not going to give you more clues. Like, this should come to mind. Y'all got to know this.
Like, currently playing?
Yes.
Well, LeBron's been in forever.
LeBron.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's been to the NBA championships other than this last
year.
year.
Kobe played for a long-ass time, too.
And Kobe played for a long-ass time, too. But, like, LeBron, everyone's always like, this guy never gets injured. He's like 33 or 34 right
34,
now.
34, yeah.
34.
We're the same age.
He's been to the championships for the last, I think, a little 10 or 11 years, which has been done by no player ever. Even though he hasn't won every single one, he's been to been in the playoffs or been to the championships.
He's a mutant, yeah.
Which also means that his season didn't
longer,
end. His season was longer than everybody else's for more than a decade, and he's had no injuries.
Yeah, so even though he could potentially be younger than certain players, he's played longer because he was I think his class was the last one that could come straight out of high school. So him and Kobe came straight out of high school,
and he's a starter, and he plays pretty much all of every single game every single season. That guy takes care of himself. You even notice how he plays on the court. Like, he's not sprinting for everything. He plays super smart, right? That's that thing. It's
Tim Duncan is also a really great example. Tim Duncan and David Robinson, they both played on the Spurs, and they were both just like really responsible. Like they were just responsible. Like they were like the definition of professional. Yeah, they did their sport, and then they took care of themselves as much as possible off the court. With strength coaches that we've had on this podcast that deal with high-level athletes still talk about, like, right when the game's over, they go and lift. And I'm like, what? Like, can't imagine that. But there's a reason for it, is because it makes them feel better. And they know that, like, man, I better, like, if I go and get on, like, a bus right now or get in a plane, like, I'm going to be stiff the whole week. I need to, like, figure out a way to, like, get all this shit moving again. So they're not going in and doing 500-pound squats. They're going in and moving around, and if they are doing like a squat, it's probably like kettlebell front squats or something. They're just trying to move around a bunch to get everything feeling good again. But there are ways of hitting that high level performance, but you have to do so in a way where you are gradually stacking things up. You know, if you just out of nowhere start to stack things up, the amount of shit that you have to do in a day to be great, or you're trying to go all in on something out of nowhere, you're probably going to burn out. You're probably going to be jacked up. I mean, but you have people, you know, I always like to point to like The Rock. You know, how many times The Rock had his head smashed with a chair in his life? Probably at least 100 times he probably got hit with a chair. Pull up a shot of The Rock getting hit with a chair and let's see how he does it.
Got it.
Because he does it differently than everybody else got hit with the chair.
I just wanted to put it in perspective. Tim Duncan played in the NBA so long that you can play him on Sega Genesis all the way up to PS4.
Oh my God.
So I forgot this too. So the San Antonio Spurs had revolutionary. They were the first team to track everything that a player did. First team in any sport. And I don't know if it was like their strength coach or who did it, but they tracked individual players, how many times they jump, how many times they had the ball, how many times they pass it, how many times they are in the low post. Like they tried to really pay attention to everything they did. How many steps did they take? How often did they sprint? They watched everything. And so with Tim Duncan later in their career, like, you're sitting. Like, why? It's like, because we have this game in the bag because this team sucks. We're saving your ass for the playoffs. And Tim Duncan would still play and he'd still be active. He'd get in there, and they had the players to do this. Most teams can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
You know, he'd throw the ball around, he'd get a couple rebounds, block a couple shots, boom, he'd be back on the bench. And him and David Robinson, when he was there, they would kind of cycle through. Even early in Tim Duncan's career, he had somebody else to kind of like lean on. But that team was so smart, they were like, we only need you when it counts. We don't need you all the time. We don't need to compromise your strength and compromise your knees and compromise everything later down the road. So that team was thinking the way you're thinking. They're thinking of like, hey, let's think about like more over here. And they do it in track and field. They do it in a lot of stuff. There's these like in swimming, they have these preliminary rounds, you know, where they'll do a swim and it's like, you just need a qualifying time.
Yeah.
You know, just do halfway decent in this tournament and you qualify for this other tournament. Like they do that in a lot of sports. And it's like, I don't need to go 800% over here. I just need to go about 90. That'll be good. That'll get me here. And then when it's time to go 100, I'm going to go 100, but I'm only going to do it at that one thing, the way like you see Usain Bolt and so many other people do it over the years.
Yeah. Just like powerlifting. Exactly. You have qualifying meets to get to that meet you're trying to do. So how about, instead of going for your PRs in this qualifying meet that you know is not the big thing, get above your qualifying total, make sure you have that so you can keep training hard up to that meet, and then boom, kill your meet. Right. So this is another thing. But a lot of people, when it comes to that meet, they're like, I want to fucking get PRs in this meet. I'm a peak hard for this meet, and it kind of wastes time.
It's kind of the equivalent of, there's been articles written, and it'll say like, lift like a Russian. And if you lift like a Russian and compete like a Russian, what they are referring to is if you go back and you watch some of your competitions where you competed in powerlifting, it's like you hit the lifts and most of them they appear, at least on video, they appear like they're pretty easy.
Yeah.
And it's like you did them, and what was the cost? What was the price that you paid to do them? That didn't cost you much. Like, yeah, maybe you didn't feel amazing the next day. Maybe you're like, oh man, like I kind of feel that's sitting in my body. But you didn't get hurt. And you could have lived, you know, how great is that of a feeling to walk away from something being like, I still feel really good. I did the best I could. I may have been able to lift a little bit more weight, but the flip side of that is walking away going, man, I shouldn't have tried that. Like, why did I try that, man? Like I knew I wasn't. And then you're bummed and you're hurt and you're out of the gym. It causes just a huge cascade of problems for you.
Yeah. It's always good to leave some there.
I think The Rock got rid of every single piece of footage of him getting hit with a chair.
Really?
Because I cannot find one.
The internet's so weird. Like the picture that I was trying to find with like Andrew of that guy and his knee meow. 2 days ago, you could Google search it and it was easy to find. Today, you look everywhere on the internet, you can't find it other than like on Reddit and a post that I have on Facebook. Even Flow Grappling took it off. So I'm like, is there something? It's so weird.
I'm having I can only find stuff of him hitting. Like, there's tons of him hitting Ken Shamrock, And then, of course, him and Mankind in the I Quit match. But
But him getting hit with chairs is gone.
I can't find it. I mean, I'm sure it's in one of these videos, but like...
Yeah, The Rock has the famous I Quit match against Mankind where he hit him like 17 times with a chair.
Yeah.
Yo.
It's called the match where
Guys, have you guys
The Rock
heard...
almost killed Mankind.
Did you guys ever hear about the Fast and Furious contracts?
It's not
Oh,
really.
like
You know
the controversy between like The Rock
And Vin Diesel's
Vin
like,
Diesel.
if I hit you, right, then I have to get my hit in too. Or like
That's
they had
right,
weird
yeah.
equations like, if you throw me through this glass, then I have to do this too. It was always like
You're not getting
Yeah,
over on me.
you ain't gonna make me look bad.
Yeah, which is so... I think it's so silly because, like, dude, Vin Diesel owns the entire series.
Hey yo, but it's The Rock. Like
I know, but I'm just saying, like...
Yeah, is that even true? I mean, it's crazy. Like
That does sound
it
crazy.
just sounds so ridiculous, but apparently like it I'm gonna fact check. I don't want anybody thinking this is fact.
No,
There's just some stuff I heard.
say it's real.
But I don't
And
want to
it's
say
good.
it's real without
No,
like
come on,
I just
man,
yeah.
come on.
But it's very interesting if it is real. It's like, wow. You know?
You tell everyone you're natty.
Andrew.
It's true, right?
Andrew, it
I'm
is
just saying-
true.
Okay, so
We're
then
doing it. We're shooting a documentary.
That's gonna be real fun. I can't wait.
I actually can't wait for that video.
Yeah, that's gonna be
I
dope,
asked
dude.
Chris Griffin. I was like, we got to shoot this video, like like do like a mini doc on it. And Griffin goes, "Do we go all the way back to his childhood?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, maybe."
Oh my god. Oh man.
Are we gonna have to go to Nigeria and film stuff with like relatives?
I think so.
You can find my daddy. He's somewhere down
I
there.
just love. I'm already loving the interview with Smokey,
Oh yeah.
where
It
he's
doesn't
like,
exist.
he's talking about his family, and he's saying that everybody's jacked, and then you show like a picture of like some real homely family that just has no muscle on them at all, right? I'm
Oh
trying
my
to find a
goodness.
chair shot, and
See?
I can't find
See?
one.
He took them all down.
You ain't gonna
Seriously.
find Dwayne getting hit by a chair.
Yeah. Anyway, my whole point was, now that you can't find it, The Rock used to put his hand up when he got hit with a chair.
Like this, like
He'd put his hand in front. He would sneak it in there last second and kind of just be like, here. Other guys would just get hit with the chair. The chair doesn't hurt that bad, but it could definitely jack you up bad. I mean, it could rock you. But he would always throw in like a little block, and a lot of the other wrestlers were like, oh, it's that's kind of a cheap way out of it. Like, what are you doing? But he's thinking about tomorrow. He's thinking about his acting career. He's thinking about his grill. He's got to keep that moneymaker going. He's got to keep that face looking pretty, right?
yeah. There's technique to everything. Yeah. And
Yeah,
if you don't get it in, you're just gonna get hurt.
That's true.
Yeah. Real quick, Martin's asking Mark if you've trained the same exercise every day and what happened if you did.
Same exercise every day.
Yeah.
Oh my god. No, I've never tried that before. So I don't know what would happen. I'm not sure what would happen to me. Sometimes some people can get like what is called like an overuse injury, which has also been referred to as an underuse injury because it means that you're overusing something and you're gaining strength there, but you're underusing something else. And so a lot of times you end up with like imbalances. So I wouldn't be able to understand great reasons to do the same exercises all the time. Because I also just kind of think that would be boring.
Yeah,
There are great movements. There's bench, squat, deadlift. You could technically do them every day if you wanted to. But I don't see the benefit. I personally would rather mix it up and do some different stuff most of the time.
I was thinking maybe something like Corey G doing lunges every day. Maybe something like that.
Yeah,
but
you can adopt some principles to where you do something every day for a while. Just like I walk every day. I do a 10-minute walk. I do several of them, every day. It's kind of nice to get into like a rhythm. And maybe you aren't proficient at squatting. So maybe you squat every day for like 2 months until you get a better feel for it, something like that.
That's what I was thinking that he may be referring to. Because, like a lot of people like to do squat every day. But even when people do the squat every day, it's not like low bar back squat every day. Like you could squat one day, you could front squat another day.
Yeah.
You could do some goblet squats. You can do some body weight squats the next day for a lot of reps. It doesn't need to be a squat the barbell every single day.
Right.
It could be a variation of the squat.
And how many of those are a 1 rep max?
Right? Ooh,
Probably none,
no, hell no.
No.
Like I think Mike Rashid did a squat every day thing for a long time. Like he had videos where it was like 100 days in, etc. But he wasn't doing heavy squats every day, So even with that, there has to be some type of, has to undulate. There has to be days where you're going more intense and less.
I know that some of back to the Russians, they used a lot of just kind of like this 30% rule. So if they were going to do something with high frequency, they would take about 30% of it, 30% off. So they might use 80% one day and then down to 50% the next day, down to like 20% on day 3, which is like, why would you lift 20%? Well, you'd lift 20% of your max for practice, right? It's just the movement. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do the movement. And a lot of that was more for Olympic lifting. So I don't know how great it transfers over to powerlifting, but I also would think that it would work great because people don't think about powerlifting as something they need to practice. And that's powerlifting should be viewed as something you need to practice. People do need a lot of practice with the exercises, but I personally like to switch stuff up more often. I think that you could get, a lot out of, doing leg presses and leg extensions and lunges and things like that.
Yeah. What did you guys train this morning? Because I wasn't able to get in, so I'm going to try to do it today.
I turned around and literally there was nobody left. I didn't know what happened. I was like, because it was kind of loud. We had the music going, and I was like, I was kind of like shaking it off. I was like, this is hard. And I was like kind of wiping my brow because the freaking sweat was getting in my eyes a lot. And I turn around and I'm like, Jessica's gone. And I turn the other way and I'm like, where did Josh go? I'm like, I think Wayne was here. And I'm like, where's Sean? And so I peek outside and there's like a pile of puke there.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, that's where Sean was.
Yeah.
And everybody just fucking took off. It got to be really difficult. We to explain what we're training, I don't even know how to say it, but we're just training everything, I guess. Talk about some overtraining. This is definitely like over the top. I don't feel overtrained though, but it's just we're working a lot of muscles each and every day, and I'm kind of like, should I do more upper body or should I do more lower body? I'm like, what was yesterday? I'm like, yesterday was like everything. And I'm like, what was the day before? I was like, that was everything too. And so I'm trying to learn it and trying to incorporate a lot of the stuff from Brian Alsrew. He gave me some programming, and then to try to take that program and actually come in here and try to apply it in super training with the setup that we have and then with the people that I train with becomes very difficult. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I want everybody to be safe. And sometimes the tendency might be, because we're in these like circuits, people might be like, F it, I'm just going to do whatever, whatever's on the bar. And it's like, that's not smart. We need to reduce the weight. And like, we were doing overhead presses in between some sled drags today. And it's like, that's not normal. You're not, you're going into an exercise, you can't breathe. And you really need to be able to breathe to do overhead presses properly. So that means you're going to have to reduce the weight drastically. And then because it was taking a pretty long duration for people to get finished with the sled work, I did like curls and I did lateral raises and some just like body weight squats and stuff like that in between too. So it was an ass kicker. But we started out today's workout to make things even worse. We started out today's workout with some squats, supersetted with bench press. And for anybody that's never tried that before, you got to try it. It actually feels really good. It's like, there's something fun and something challenging about it. You don't really get like, I guess if you want to do sets of 20, you could be super like winded. But I actually think it's a great way to reduce training time of both exercises because they usually both kind of take a long time. So I was going back and forth supersetting some squats and bench, and it actually felt great.
How much time in between sets?
I would say because like we were changing out weights and some things like that, it's probably like maybe about 60 to 90 seconds. But we would try to go right from the squat right to the bench, and then we would rest after that. But it didn't feel... On the first set, like I did a bunch of reverse grip bench first, and I switched over to some regular. On the first set, it kind of took me by surprise. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to have to like, you just kind of give yourself a message like, dude, you better toughen the hell up on this next one. So I was able to get a couple more reps on the next one. But my overall strength feels really good. My benching strength is just off. Sometimes if I'm not like on point and I'm not really hitting my central nervous system all that much, the left side of my body, I don't know if it's like a nerve thing or whatever, but like when I go to bench press, it's like, nope, I'll go to bench and it could be like 225 or 315, and the right arm's like, yeah, dude, we're doing good, and the left arm's like, nope, this is where we're stopping, and so the right arm's like, pow, and the left arm's just kind of hanging out back here, and I'm always
stay
like,
down
what?
here.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, I hate when that happens, but I feel good otherwise.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. That works really well. I mean, let me ask you this: how many reps, if you can think back to it, after every single set, how many reps more could you have done with both of those movements?
Oh yeah, can definitely afford to throw in some more reps. Yeah,
yeah, like
the last set, I did a set of 15, and I was doing sets of 6 the entire time.
See, exactly. So that's something big to think about when like people want to do this, because it's challenging, it's good, but you're not going with the weights you're going on the superset. It's not like you only have one rep left that you could do on each set, right? See, so you
I think that people's perception of me is I think they probably think that I'm a maniac. They probably think I go crazy on everything, and I really don't. I'm actually like, I go into stuff pretty like timidly, like because I know that when I'm trying something, it's usually for a while. I'm like, I'm gonna do this way, and I'm gonna try this way. Even all the way down to like taking something like MCT oil. Like first time I took it, I was like, this is like just oil, just straight up oil in my coffee. I've never had that before. I don't think I've ever eaten fat by itself ever before in my life. So I'm like, beep. And I put in like 2 drops, I'm like, I'm not super cautious with everything that I do. But I do try to like be reasonable. I try to like pay attention, like what I'm doing,
Oh man, no, that about your workout, man. That's good to know, because I feel like if someone is listening in, they're like, "Wow, okay, so let me take 90% of my bench, 90% of my squat, and do those back and forth."
I personally don't really enjoy like, grabbing weight and going crazy. I don't. That's not my style. I don't really like that. I don't mind having a progression and a warm up, and then going being like, okay, here we go. You and I go back and forth on something, and like, I don't know, we do a couple sets and like, all right, let's see how many reps we can do. Like, that's fun. I don't mind doing that, but like, just to kind of like, I don't know, I sometimes see people just really trying to grab something that's too heavy for them, and then they're just trying to grit their teeth, and they think gritting their teeth is going to help them lift more weight or something, or screaming or whatever. And I can get that way on occasion, especially for like a 1 rep max. I can get like fired up and excited for it. But for the most part, I like to just go in there and train, and I really love what I'm doing now, which is just nonstop movement, just always doing something. I'm always like either lifting or spotting or coaching. I just try to keep going.
Full body every day.
Yeah, it probably keeps the workouts a little shorter too, right?
It does. Yeah. Today was a really good one. Like I said, everybody else died, and Josh Kim was like, he's like, you look like you can still keep going. I was like, I feel like I just got started, man.
Yeah, you were telling us that the other day when I was on that workout with you guys, and you were just like, this reminds me of the wrestling days. All perky, and we're all just like, fuck.
Yeah, that's when you hit them with the 2 more sets, and we're halfway there.
Yeah, 2 more sets, and the workout's gonna start.
You know what's so funny? You remember when we were doing, I think, the sled pushes?
Oh yeah,
supersetted that with the erg thing.
Oh yeah,
and then what else did we add with it? Or is it just those 2?
I think we had. Man, that one day, what did we do? Was it? Did we do the?
We did like an arm gauntlet, and then we went on to.
Oh yeah, did we do the yoke carry? No,
we didn't do the yoke carry on that day. That was the day with those Cook Schweitzer.
Yeah. So we did the ski erg, and were we doing the wheelbarrow?
No, we were doing pushing the sled push.
The tank.
The tank.
That's all we were doing.
That's all we were doing. Yeah. But we went back and forth. So the funny thing, man, is that when that
got to be tough.
It did. But I remember what you said. You're like, okay, we're just going to do a few sets of this, right? And Jess was like, oh, okay, maybe we're going to do 3 sets each. That's what Jess said. She's like, oh yeah, 3 sets each. We ended up doing 10 back and forth.
It was bad.
And it's funny because you're like, oh, we're just going to do a few. And it was fucking back and forth 10 times.
Yeah, that one shocked me on how hard it got to be. And I kept kind of looking at Nsima, and I was like, oh, like he's starting to get a little tired too. I'm like, this is really good. This is like a lot of fun. And Josh Kim is always dying when it comes to like that kind of stuff.
That was so fun, but so just like, God,
yeah,
that was good, man.
I like that stuff. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Catch you guys later.